You don't crash. You dissolve, not with shouts, not with scenes, but with silence. There's no grand explosion when the pressure becomes too much, just a quiet withdrawal, a slow dimming of the light that used to shine in your eyes. People don't notice when you begin to fade. They only ask questions once you're gone. You're not the one who causes chaos. You're the one who absorbs it. You hold everything in, swallow your doubts, numb your fears, because that's what you were taught strength looks like. But the truth, you're exhausted, and it's not just physical, it's spiritual. You've been disappearing in pieces, and no one has seen the signs. This isn't just about men. This is about anyone who's had to wear a brave face while their soul quietly crumbled behind it. And today, we're going to bring that silence into the light. Because you deserve to be seen. But to understand why you're fading, we need to trace the erosion back to its source. Not the moment you collapsed, but the moments you quietly shrank, unnoticed. And that's where your story truly begins. You didn't become exhausted overnight. You didn't fade all at once. It happened slowly, with moments so quiet, no one thought to notice. You told yourself you were fine, that the heavy days would pass, that you just needed sleep or a break, or maybe just one person to check in, but no one did. And so you adjusted. You became the one who always listened, even when no one asked how you were doing. The one who always showed up, even when your legs were shaking. You carried them, their fears, their futures, their expectations. And every time you swallowed your own needs to meet someone else's, a small part of you disappeared. It didn't hurt right away. That's the scary part. You didn't notice the erosion at first. The way your laugh lost its volume. The way you stopped reaching out. The way your dreams started to feel distant, like they belonged to someone else. But one day you woke up and realized you had nothing left to give, not because you were weak, but because no one ever thought to pour back into you. Mid-segment nudge. If you've ever carried so much that your silence started to feel like safety, subscribe to the Unsung. You were never meant to disappear. And here's what most people miss. You didn't start your life this way. You weren't born fading. So what happened? What moment convinced you that staying silent was safer than speaking up? What taught you to wear a strong face, even when you were unraveling inside? Let's go there. Because that moment, that first silence, holds the key to everything that followed. You weren't always quiet. There was a time you ran toward life, arms wide, eyes bright, voice loud. There was a time you believed that if you hurt, someone would come. That if you cried, someone would care. But that belief didn't last. Maybe it was a moment so small, others would have forgotten it by now. But you remember, you spilled your heart, and were told to stop being dramatic. You were afraid, and they laughed, or shrugged, or walked away. You needed help, and the silence that followed is louder than any scream. That's when you learned your feelings were inconvenient, your needs unimportant, your softness a liability. So you swallowed the hurt, you tucked away the fear. You put a lock on your real voice and replaced it with what the world wanted to hear. Be strong, be responsible, don't be a burden, don't be too much. And slowly you became the version of yourself that made everyone else comfortable. But not once did anyone ask, are you comfortable living like this? Quiet midpoint reminder. If this feels like your story, even in pieces, hit subscribe to the Unsung. Your silence deserves to be heard. And here's the hidden truth. You didn't become a quiet soul by accident. You were trained, shaped by moments, by people, by a world that rewarded your silence more than your truth. But that silence, it didn't make you stronger. It made you invisible. And now you're here, fading in plain sight. But the question is, what does life feel like when you are the one holding everyone together and no one sees you fraying at the edges? Let's step into that reality. You became the steady one, the reliable one, the one who always answers the call, the one who remembers birthdays, pays the bills, calms the storm, and fixes the mess. And somewhere along the way, your own needs got labeled as optional. You started measuring your worth by how useful you were. If they needed you, you mattered. If they didn't, you faded further. You didn't complain. You told yourself this is what it means to love, to lead, to be strong, but in giving so much, you forgot how to ask for anything. And now you wake up most days already depleted. Running on fumes, living on autopilot, smiling on cue. Pushing through without pause, not because you're okay, but because there's no room not to be. You feel the loneliness in crowds. You feel the pressure in silence. And sometimes you fantasize about what it would feel like if someone else held you together for once. You wonder, if you stopped giving, would anyone notice? If you disappeared, would anyone come looking? If you're still here, still carrying, still trying, pause this moment and remember you matter beyond your utility. You matter even when you're not fixing, performing, or producing. You don't have to carry the world alone. There's a reason this video found you today. You're allowed to lay it down, even just for a while. But here's where it gets even harder. It's not just the pressure of the present, it's the weight of the past. The pain you never processed, the emotions you buried, the guilt you carry for being tired, for daring to want more. And that hidden grief, that's what's silently pulling you under. Because the truth is, you can't heal from pain you've never acknowledged. Let's step into the part no one wants to touch, the part you thought you buried deep enough to forget. There's a kind of grief that doesn't come with funerals. No condolences, no sympathy cards, no one saying, take your time. It's the grief of letting parts of yourself die, because the world didn't make space for them. You grieve the version of you that used to hope freely, the version that dreamed recklessly, the version that laughed without looking over your shoulder. You grieve the softness you once had, before you learned that gentleness makes you a target. You grieve the love you gave away to people who didn't know how to hold it, who took what they needed and left you wondering if you were ever enough. And worst of all, you grieve silently because no one sees what you've lost. Not the time, not the trust, not the self-worth chipped away by years of being invisible. They see the strong face, the stable presence, the smile you wear like armor, but they don't see the slow death behind your eyes. You tell yourself to be grateful because others have it worse. You tell yourself it's not that bad. You tell yourself to be quiet, to be kind, to be patient. But deep down, there's a voice you've tried to ignore. The voice that whispers, what about me? And you've spent your life silencing it. But today, you don't have to. If anything in this story feels like yours, even if you've never spoken it out loud, pause and remember, your grief is real. Your pain is valid, and your silence was never weakness. This space, this voice, this moment, it's yours. You deserve to be heard. But that voice you silenced for so long, it's still in there. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it trying to rise again. Because the truth is, you were never meant to disappear. So how do you come back to life after fading for so long? That's where we go next. You don't have to roar back into the world. You don't need to make a scene or prove anything. Coming back to life can start small, with one moment, one breath, one whispered reminder. I'm still here. You've spent years becoming invisible. Now, step by step, you start to reclaim your reflection. It begins with honesty, not to others, not yet, but to yourself. I'm tired. I'm hurting. I don't want to do this alone anymore. There's strength in those words. Not weakness, strength. Because healing doesn't require perfection. It only requires permission. You were taught to carry, to endure, to never ask. But now, you get to choose something different. You get to rest. You get to say no. You get to feel without shame. You get to take up space without apology. This is not the end of your story. It's the part where you finally stop fading and start showing up as you. If you've stayed with me this far, it means something in you wants to rise. Let that part win. Let that part speak. Let that part come home. And if you ever feel yourself slipping again, if the silence returns and the world goes dim, remember this, you are not alone. You never were. There are thousands listening right now who felt what you felt. People holding back tears behind strong faces. People learning to be seen again. This channel to the unsung exists because voices like yours deserve light. So before you go, take a second to breathe, and if this spoke to you, you know what to do. Subscribe, leave a comment, share it with someone who's been quiet for too long. Because the truth is, you matter, even in silence, especially in silence. And your story isn't over yet. It's only just beginning.